This is Dr. Sean from The Active Life with Dr. Jeremy, and this is your brute tip for the day. Today we're going to be talking about knee flexibility and how it relates to the squat. We're going to take a look at the knee both lying on your back and lying on your stomach, and we're going to make differentials for you as to what it means if you don't have full range of motion in one or both positions. So the first thing we're looking for here is to determine whether or not you have full flexion in the knee. The way we're going to do this is a pretty simple test. You're going to go ahead and lie on your back while your partner grabs your leg. We're going to bring that leg into a little bit of hip flexion, and then just take that lower leg and try to drive the ankle into the hip. So again, we're going to take the heel, push it in towards the butt, right? If you're experiencing any pain when your partner does this, let them know they should certainly back off, and this shouldn't be a really, really hard thing to do. You're not trying to establish a 1-rep max bench press with your friend's shin. But if you're able to get your heel to your butt with little or no resistance, then we know that you have a full range of motion in your knee in a vacuum. Doesn't mean you're ready to squat, but it means you're ready for the next test. So if you've already established that you're able to take your knee through full range of motion while you're lying on your back, what we're going to do now is start to include the hip a little bit by lying you flat on your stomach, and we're going to retest. So we're going to go ahead and try to bring the heel to the butt again. Now, for some people, this is going to be a more difficult test than the other one, where you got to pass prior, and now you might end up a little bit short and not able to do it, or we'll see the spine start to rotate or the back start to arch. If any of those things happen, you just want to kind of notate that. It won't really affect your squat very much, but we're going to talk to you a little about what it will affect. So one of the first things you can do if you failed the knee test is what we call eccentric knee flexion. So you're going to start in a tall kneeling position and gently drive into the floor with your feet, like you're trying to push the floor down and away. Then you're going to start to just lower your butt down onto your heels. Should take 3 to 5 seconds to get all the way down there. We don't care how much you hinge at the hips. Now to get back up, go ahead and do that again, Jeremy. To get back up, when you're at the bottom, what we want you to do is really kind of lean forward as much as you can and press up, right? You don't have to use your hands, but we want you to lean forward so that that force doesn't come from your quads so much. We're trying to put an eccentric load through the quads. If this gets really easy for you and we start prescribing weight, right? Then we start talking about grabbing a kettlebell, putting that kettlebell behind your back, and doing the same thing. So the kettlebell now is going to act as a resistance, make it a little bit more difficult, but the pace and the tempo are going to stay the same. We recommend doing these anywhere from 2 to 3 times per week for 8 to 12 reps, depending on how you feel when they're done. This is eccentric knee flexion. So the next thing that we like to talk about if you're having trouble with your knees in the bottom of a squat is literally spending some time in the bottom of the squat. Now, if you have good range of motion like Dr. Jeremy does, it'll look something like this where the whole back of the knee is closed. If you can't get to the bottom, that's okay. Come on out a little bit, Jeremy. What we're going to do is you're going to sit as low as you can, or potentially we're going to prescribe you up on the toes so the heels are off the ground, and that's going to make it a little bit easier for you to sit down there because it's going to change your lever point just a little bit. So this is like what we call a catcher stance, although you're not really going to sit like that if you're catching, but off the heels, on the toes, in the bottom of a squat. Try to accumulate anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes per day, every day, in the more comfortable variety of these two. This next exercise that we like to prescribe is really less about mobility and more about strength in the end range. So what we're going to talk about here is what we call high lateral box step up. This is a 30-inch box, and this is a 45-pound bumper plate. It's between 3 and 4 inches tall. So Jeremy's going to go ahead and throw his foot up on there. Now you're going to kind of sink it into some deep knee flexion and stand up as best you can. Now again, you'll notice that this is what we call a lateral box step up. Jeremy is not stepping into it, it's to the side of him. Anywhere from 6 to 10 reps, 8 seems to be the sweet spot for 3 to 4 sets, twice a week. So if you were able to pass that lying knee test on your back, but then when you go ahead and lie on your stomach, you fail, the back starts to round, you start to shake hips left to right, or you get some pain, or the heel doesn't get to the butt, what we can expect is that when you're standing up vertical and you're doing your running exercises, and you go to extend that leg back and bring the heel towards the butt, you're gonna have to arch through the back. When you're doing kipping pull-ups on the pull-up rig, you're doing muscle-ups. When you go to arch, instead of being able to arch through the hips, you're gonna have to arch through the back. So that's one of those things that we want you guys to look for. It's what we call a significant other finding. It shouldn't affect your squat, but if you see that, you can start to consider that pain in running, pain in kipping pull-ups, pain in muscle-ups that all happen in the low back are likely due to some of the hip flex muscles that cross the knee. To summarize, if you're struggling to get to the bottom of a squat and you think it might be your knees, you want to go back to those tests. Are you able to get your heel to your butt on your back? Are you able to get your heel to your butt on your stomach? If you're not, if either one of those are a problem, you're going to start doing things like sitting in the bottom of a squat, sitting in the bottom of the squat with your heels off the ground, eccentric knee flexion, or lateral box step ups, high lateral box step ups. Until next time, this is Dr. Sean with The Active Life, and this is your brew tip of the day.